very pleased to have you all join us to honor one of our community's outstanding citizens whose service exemplifies what Rotary is all about. If you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the Rotarians among us, we say a four-way test for all the things that we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it
Fair to all concerned? Will it build good? Will it better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Dear God, we bless you for this community. We bless you for those who serve, that you call to do what Dr. Strawinski says when he says, whatever I can. We ask your blessing on everyone here tonight, that we will do wonderful connecting and wonderful, meaningful conversations, and eat heartily.
Started with our program at this time. At this time, I'd like to introduce Christine Shaw, who's the president of our Rotary Club.
Good evening. Please keep enjoying your dinner. We're just going to start the program. And I am the commercial announcer here. So first of all, I want to tell you a little bit about Rotary International. Rotary International is essentially the larger umbrella group that our little club is part of. There are clubs all over the world, and we're just one of them. You can check out our website at redhookrotary.com. The Rotary areas of focus are promoting peace and conflict prevention and disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. And you'll see that a lot of the Rotary programs focus on one of those areas. You are going to hear more about, in particular, Rotary's efforts to combat polio, because it's World Polio Day on Friday this year. And if you look at our website, you'll see that we had a little event recognizing that, and we're going to have a little more information about that available at our book sale on Saturday. So if you're there, you'll see some information from a couple of our Rotarians. Our Rotary Foundation that is sponsoring this dinner and that you're helping to support, thank you very much, supports programs like our annual scholarship for graduating seniors and our Rotary Youth Exchange program. We have a youth exchange student here, in fact she's here tonight, Gan from Thailand is here. And we have an outbound student, Abby, who's in Italy this year. So it's a really great program. We have kids going out and in. And please see Tim Lynch or Dave Wright if you have an interest in hosting or having your child enrolled. We're always talking to people about that program. Our club supports the high school's Interact Club. Advisors are Carl Dowden and Lynn Greenblatt. And our Interact students are here tonight helping with service. Thank you. The Interact Club is in the third year of a very successful commitment to purchase shelter boxes, which are emergency shelters for disaster areas. They've already purchased 2 in the last 2 years, and they're well on their way to purchasing a 3rd. So congratulations to the group. We happen to have our Rotary District Assistant Governor, Lou Turbin, here tonight. Lou, could you stand up? And in addition to being a wonderful assistant governor, Lou actually is a shelter box ambassador. He travels all over telling people about the shelter box program and helping them start up programs of their own. Our club and foundation are working on a project this year with the Red Hook Library to hold a book sale. And I think you have some brochures on your table. We've been collecting books for the past few weeks at the library, and the book sale is at the Village Hall on Saturday. We have lots of books. So please come if you're a book lover and check out our selections. And please enjoy the party, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Christine. They told me, and I must have, old-timer's disease or something. I forgot already, it was only a couple minutes ago. I was supposed to make an announcement that we're going to really be closing the silent auction soon. I know we've said that a couple of times, but if anybody wants to go and check their bid or try to outbid somebody else that's on there, it will be closing in a few minutes. At this time, I would like to, we have some proclamations, resolutions from various government bodies. And the first I would like to present to Doug is from the U.S. House of Representatives, Member of Congress. It's a certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Doug Strawinski, Red Hook Rotary Foundation Citizen of the Year 2014, and it's from Honorable Chris Gibson. And next we have the honor of having with us tonight our New York State Senator, Senator Terry Gibson.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I just want to say how lucky we are, if you don't realize it, to live in a place like this where we have a community where everybody knows everybody, and these kinds of events just don't happen in other parts of the country. So it's always a pleasure to be here as a part of this. I was reading up on Doug's bio. We were just talking about this. We have some things in common. We were just talking about that we both spent a lot of time in Texas. I grew up there. You were there for quite a bit of time. And I was just reading your bio that you were a land surveying major. Well, I was also a land surveying major. I started out, my very first effort in college was to try to get an associate's degree in land surveying. The difference is that you actually got one. And I went a totally different direction. But I'm glad that we both ended up here. And I am so glad that you decided to make your home here with Mickey, because clearly you've done so much for your community. And it is these small communities that are throughout the Hudson Valley that make this such a special place. And within those communities, there are individuals like you that step forward whenever duty calls, and you do whatever you can do without asking for any type of payment or reward. And it makes all the difference in the world. So know that all that you've done is greatly appreciated, and we hope that you will continue to give back the way you have and serve as a role model to all those who are looking up to you now, and I'm sure they will follow in your footsteps. So I brought along a New York State Senate proclamation. And if you just come up, I'd like to award that to you.
Thank you. Okay, gotta get the right proclamation there. This one is from the New York State Assembly. Our Assemblyman Kevin Cahill wasn't able to be with us tonight, but he did send you, Doug, a citation from the New York State Assembly. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's like 2 pages. Thank you. But all the good things you did, Doug. Okay, and at this time, I'd like to call up William Truitt, who is here representing our county executive, Marcus Molinaro.
Good evening, everyone. I bet you weren't expecting to see a 19-year-old up here speaking on behalf of Mark Molinaro tonight. Well, okay, I know he was involved when he was very young too. But it's truly an honor to be out here and see all you people out here. This is a great event we have here for Doug. I mean, I've barely known Doug. I mean, I met him tonight. But from what I know of him, the 5 minutes I talked to him, he's a great guy. And he deserves this award. But to get down to business, I have a proclamation here for Doug for all that he has done for the community. He is a leader, and he is a role model for all individuals in this town. And he is someone who we should all look up to, and we should follow in his footsteps. So I'm going to read you the proclamation. Dutchess County Executive Proclamation. Whereas every year the Red Hook Rotary Foundation recognizes a special person in the community that best fits the values of the Rotary, and whereas Doug Strawinski is a civic volunteer with an active role in the care and administration of the Red Hook Recreational Park, and whereas Doug serves as Vice President of Historic Red Hook, was instrumental in the reconstruction of the St. Margaret's Home, as well as many other projects, and whereas he is a local contractor, married to county legislator Mickey Strawinski, and they have 2 children, Jackie and Andrew, and whereas Doug Strawinski is truly worthy of the distinction of being selected as the Red Hook Rotary Foundation's 2014 Citizen of the Year, and now therefore I, William Truitt, not Marcus Molinaro, County Executive of Dutchess County, do hereby applaud your commitment and dedication to the town of Red Hook and our Hudson Valley community, and extend my best wishes in all your future endeavors. Thank you for everything.
I'd like to call up our Town of Red Hook Supervisor, Sue Crane, to make her presentation, please.
I'm going to do it, Doug Strawinski. This is what he used to do when he came to town board meetings to report on the rec commission. Good evening. It made the women crazy. We have had so much fun together. We really have. And I'm not going to reiterate what Bill has already said. Is it Bill or William? William, I'm sorry.
Call me Will.
Will. Will has already said because he stole everything that we have in our proclamation, and that's fine because I have some other stories to talk about where Doug is concerned. Okay, where do we start? We start when I was just a cub town board member, and I was assigned to be the liaison to the rec commission by then Jack Gillfeather, supervisor, and that was good with me because I thought that was wholesome and I couldn't get in trouble there. And one of the first meetings that I attended, Doug came in with a plan for a roller rink. And there were, I don't know how many members, maybe 8, Doug, there passing on this notion of bringing this god-awful, frightening, dangerous thing to the Red Hook Recreation Park. And he presented it with such class, and such calm, that by the end of his presentation, nobody believed for 1 second anybody would get hurt at that rec park if we did it. So they said, great idea, Doug. And after that, he managed, I think I'm getting this right, I think you gathered together a group of people who were willing to build it once you got the town board's approval to do it. And we had one of the first, really, roller rinks in the area. And it was 1999, I think we said, 2000 that you went into the actual construction phase. God bless him. There was John Kuhn right there behind him saying, yeah, we can do this, and he's documenting it all with all his notebooks. He's got 4,000 notebooks in his office. He's pushing Ted Cudsey out of the office because of the notebooks. So that's my first recollection of here is a guy who is very quiet about what he says he would like to present and do, and then goes ahead and does it, And to me, this is a sign of true leadership. Rotary has, year after year, picked people who have demonstrated leadership in this community, and I'm telling you, I've been here more years than I care to even talk to you about, and I want you to know this community loves leadership, appreciates leadership, Rotary among them. This town, this county, this state, this country longs for leadership. And each and every one of you here are demonstrating it by showing up. That's what we're asking. We're asking you to show up and say what it is that is important to you and work for it like Doug has. That's what's going to make this country back on track. That's what's going to make us Americans for America and for the world, is believing in what you think you can do and then do it. And so some people won't like it. So what? My family often didn't like half of what I did, but I did it anyway. So I want to thank the Rotary, and I want to thank the Interact Club again for making us warmly welcome. And lastly, tell you a little bit about what goes on behind closed doors at Town Hall, because this will maybe let you think that all is not as perfect as it would appear. Doug is our go-to guy, you see, now that he has demonstrated that he's the master carpenter and the person that can do construction no matter what it is. He can give us advice and solve our problems. One of the times that he did that for me was I was sitting in my office and on the wall was water running off a snowy roof through the ceiling tiles, down the wall, past the electrical box. Now, I'm not really nervous too much most of the time, but I got pretty excited about this, you know? I mean, I'm seeing this water. So I moved the computer out of the way, and I went in and I said to Ted Cudsey, who is my go-to guy, what do we do? I said, we got a problem. And Ted came in and he goes, oh my God, we'll call Doug. Well, this is what this poor man is involved in behind the scenes. Nobody knows this, but whenever something goes wrong at town hall, because he is a construction expert in almost every arena, you know, whether we've got raccoons running out of the roof that we didn't know we had as visitors, or we had, here's another one that was really fun. We're sitting in the afternoon, Sue McCann will remember this one. We're sitting in the afternoon working on our computers quietly, paying attention to, you know, our work, and everybody's not really expecting an explosion, and the building goes ba-boom. And I said, oh my God, what was that? And everybody leapt out of their chairs and we went running around trying to figure out what happened because we all felt this shudder. What happened was a gentleman pulled into the parking lot because he wasn't feeling well. And he kept going and drove into the building. He just kept going and hit the building, and the whole building shook. And Ted, I don't think was there at the time. John was there. Were you there at the time? Ted, you were there. And when Ted, who has been the purchasing agent for many, many years, gets excited, he kind of goes, we'll call the Doug. Let's call Doug. John, call Doug. And John always knows that if he calls Doug, he'll get a response. So see, I've got a team here that back me up when we have problems. And Teresa, God bless her, she was secretary at the highway garage at the time. The water was running down the wall, sent over a great big plastic bucket to catch the water so that it didn't ruin my carpet. I mean, we're resourceful here. We know what we're doing. These kids are so lucky. Andrew and Jackie, you are so lucky to have these parents for models to follow. Don't try to do it because it's silly, you know. You're never going to catch up with them, but enjoy every minute of it because this, I can tell you all, politics is a family venture. You don't get away doing it on your own. It's a commitment on everybody's part. You're missing in action a lot of the time, and sometimes everybody gets involved and says, you know, Grammy, I didn't really like what you had to say last week. I love that one. So, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. I hope I've been able to share with you all the kinds of things that we had depended on Doug for, the going into St. Margaret's and advising us when there wasn't enough money to get the job done and stabilize the building. He and Andrew was involved. It's an amazing, amazing thing to see people step up when they see they can help and do the job. Most of you are among them, and I want to thank you for it. Thank you very much.
more used to be on the stage with my man Doug here, and I would like to invite my friend up here to be with me. The reason being, my knowledge of Doug comes through the Hardscrabble Committee and other work we've done. But first I think we have to tell him, we have a lot of young volunteers in the back from the Rotary Interact, and Doug, there's no work for you to do here tonight. This guy will work, no lie, 15 hours a day. When we do Hardscrabble Day, we're there at 7 in the morning, Doug, and we don't go home till about 11 o'clock at night. And Doug has a mutual love with me for live rock and roll and promoting the town and the village of Red Hook. And we have some partnership that we created, which is unbelievable, I think. It's really, really fun, and it's there are, of course, other people on the committee, but Doug, like Sue Crane said, is our go-to guy. I have to admit, one thing I can picture from him, it must be 9 years ago, this little village, we were in the throes of downturns and different things, and we sat and we said, you know, we've been doing this street festival for years, but in our village we have this great world-class music presenter right down the street here, Firehouse Productions, and we got them to give live and free sound to a world-class sound presentation. And what that meant was we could go out and find world-class musicians that would play in our little village, which nobody could ever get, no matter where you were, who you were. So we kind of got together, and Doug, you know, he goes to a lot of live concerts, up to Mountain Jam and different stuff, and listens to WPDH and different things. And so we said, okay, we'll do this together. But any group, any organization needs a few different components, and he became our go-to guy for hardcore, what I would call the nitty-gritty production side of it. When we put a sound system together from that company, we need a guy who knows where do you plug in the plugs to get the wattage that you need for the sound system. And he would, okay, we'll do that. And my first image of Doug, we were booking the band Orleans, John Paul and Orleans, this is what, 9 years ago. And I didn't really know him then. His buddy Bob Tozzi was here helping out. And we had rented or got a free stage from a Gilfeather relative from the city of Kingston. And the stage rolls up, and it was pretty funky, and it was kind of a bad weather day. And Sue McCann was out there kind of hand rubbing the surface of the stage, trying to keep the moisture off the stage. I'm like, how the heck are we going to do a live show with rain coming down and so forth? So Doug says, I have an idea. I'll get Tozzi, and we'll build this overhang system. So Doug, death-defying Doug, which is what he is, he gets up on a ladder, and my mental image of Doug is always he's about 8 feet above my head, and I'm there ready to catch him. He has no fear of height. He's like, which is great. I have a fear of height, so he's a great team member. So he's up there building this overhang for the stage. Sue McCann's cleaning the stage, and we put off our first live show. And then years and years go by, and now 9 years into it, we've got ITs, you know, we're the gray-haired, like McCann and Strawinski and a few people around here. We tend to book bands that appeal to our generation. And so this year we did it again, and we did, like I said, it's our 9th, and it's unbelievable. He's still death-defying Doug Strawinski. I'm always there to catch him, but he's the go-to guy, and like Sue Crane said, he also brings a calming nature to our meetings. It's something where once in a while we can get a little tense, especially, you know, it's coming near the end game and we're trying to fundraise and we're trying to get things together. But he's always got this calm, we'll get it done, you know, no big deal, no worries, and he does it. And I like to thank him so much, and we did our proclamation here ourselves. I won't read it all, but essentially the Village of Red Hook and its business center, its residents really, really benefited from the work you've done with us. We appreciate the hard work. And just one last thing was, everybody tends to believe Hardscrabble Day happens one day and it's over, but it's never over. We're still going through the bookkeeping. He and I show up the next day and work with another 4 or 5 hours to clean up and make it look like the village, like it never happened. And he's never ever balked, never ever said no. And he's a great friend, and I love him for it. And thanks so much.
Okay, and finally we have a proclamation from the Village of Tivoli, and I'd like to introduce Susan Andrade, who will read the proclamation from Mayor Frank.
of all, Doug, I didn't come prepared to make this speech, but I've been thinking about it. First of all, Brian sends his apologies. He had an illness in the family, so he wasn't able to be here, and I'm sure he would have wanted to be here. But I'm looking over this bio that they've done of you, and I don't. It's a little known fact, but I had a house in Red Hook from '81 to '85, and Red Hook was not the place it is today in that period, and I now understand why. Because you didn't get here until '84. So you're the one that's been fixing things up and getting the excitement going. And as somebody who sometimes engages in volunteer activities, I can't tell you how much we appreciate that effort. We appreciate that whenever something needs to be done, we can find you, and what I especially appreciate is that you smile whenever I speak to you, and I suspect whenever anybody asks something of you. So thank you for your service to this community.
At this time, we're going to have our dessert. Maybe we should have Doug cut his cake. Yeah, come on, Doug. Come on over, cut your cake. Yes. Cake is being cut and served. I'd like to take a moment at this time and introduce some of our past Citizen of the Year recipients who are with us tonight. First, I'd like to introduce Margaret Doty. And John Kuhn. Yep. And our cameraman tonight, Reverend Fred Cartier. And we also have Loretta Campagna with us tonight. And last year's recipient, Ruth O.J. At this time,
I just want to make a slight catering announcement. If people would like to have coffee, there's coffee available over here. The students will be serving the cake to you at the table. All right?
okay. Thank you.
All right.
Going to continue with our program. I'd first like to invite up Claudine Close, who's going to say a few words on behalf of Historic Red Hook.
Okay. Here we go. On behalf of Historic Red Hook, I have an instant proclamation. Instantly done. It says, whereas we hereby salute and honor Douglas Strawinski, aka Doug, as the Red Hook Rotary Citizen of the Year. Doug, you rock! I just want to say that Doug, I know this town is great for its volunteerism, but there are volunteers and there are volunteers. Yes. And Doug has, as far as I haven't known him that long, but he has always offered to volunteer and with grace. And I think Historic Red Hook is so fortunate to have Doug as a volunteer. My understanding is that when the Friends of Elminder first asked him to volunteer, he said, no, I'm too busy. But fortunately he said yes, and we are very, very fortunate that he also said yes to Historic Red Hook. So we don't know what we would do without him.
Okay, and at this time I'd like to call Doug's wife up, Mickey Strawinski.
All right, which hat do I have on? County legislator or wife right now? Both. Well, I do have a proclamation from the county legislature, Doug, and it says much of what has been said before in that very formal political way. And the legislature recognizes you for your work in Red Hook and as 2014 Citizen of the Year. And it is resolved that Legislator Strawinski, on behalf of all the people of Red Hook, does hereby commend and congratulate Doug Strawinski on the honor of being named 2014 Citizen of the Year by the Red Hook Rotary Club Foundation. And we'll add this to your file. So, I met Doug in a bar. In Houston, Texas in the early 1980s, through a mutual friend of ours, the late great Johnny Brown. Johnny was a rugby player, and in an attempt to help me through the heartbreak of another rugby player dumping me, he asked me to work as a cocktail waitress at what was really a neighborhood pub, the Classic Era Club, and I got to tell you, it was the worst ever. Doug was part owner and management of this establishment, which catered to some interesting characters, mainly misfits and lonely old men, neither of whom I had much patience for. But from time to time, the club would hold some special events there, and bring in new faces. And it was one of those events, a Halloween party, where Doug really caught my eye. I can't remember exactly what the costume was, a bear or a dog or something. But I remember him walking through the crowd, greeting all the people that came to this event with these big, giant feet on, part of the costume. And I just thought that was so adorable. Making sure that everybody's had enough drinks and that they had enough to eat. But what really caught my attention was the attention that he was giving to his parents, who were also in the room that night. I knew at the time that we had a few things in common. We both were fans of, local rugby team. We were third in the birth order in our families. We were both workaholics. At the time, we each had 2 jobs. But that strong commitment to family was really evident that night, and it was really warmed my heart. Frank and Josephine were so proud of and supported Doug and his brothers in all their efforts. The construction company, the club, the men's and women's softball teams that the then company DTD Corporation sponsored. They came to every event, every game, And of course, once Doug and I were married and had children, they were always there for Andrew and Jacqueline, attending all of their activities, taking them on weekly outings and babysitting anytime we would ask them. Doug, we know that they and your brothers Tom and Dennis are looking down at you today at the celebration with great, great pride. Many of you may wonder how we made it from Houston, Texas to Red Hook, New York. Well, I grew up in Hyde Park, and after our children were born, and especially once they started school, I became quite homesick for my family and New York friends and the beauty of the Hudson Valley. And at the same time, I began to recognize there were things about living in a huge southern city that I didn't like. Not to rehash about all that tonight. I will admit to one thing, and maybe for the first time, it's just one of those reasons why I wanted to move back north, and apologies to anybody who grew up in the South. Very. I started noticing this Texas slang was starting to become part of our vocabulary. Now, I don't mind a y'all once in a while, and I'm sure I use the term once in a while myself, but I gotta tell you, the only kind of fixin' I wanted to hear was that when the toilet was gonna be done, so. And I have to admit, I'm not a shoemaker's wife. Doug does a lot around the house, and so I don't really have much to worry about that. I started hearing that, you know, if a hammer hit the finger or some other minor injury, instead of, you know, what we would normally say as New Yorkers and Motown natives, I'd hear, "Dadgummit." And in weather like this, you know, I would refer to it as a gully washer. But what really concerned me that we were losing our northern identity was when we were hanging new cabinets in our kitchen that weren't quite level, and he referred them as looking a bit cattywampus. Really? Cattywampus? No, they're cockeyed. At any rate, after nearly a decade of relentless obsession on my part, I finally convinced Doug that we should give New York a try. And now here we are, after all those years of hesitation, Doug is getting recognized as Red Hook Citizen of the Year. And this doesn't surprise me. Doug was always a go-getter, starting work at a very young age, delivering the evening edition of the Detroit newspaper. He worked on various projects while he was in his Catholic high school, and I famously have heard famously about his floats that he made for different parades and the like. He worked as a teenager in the Detroit Kentucky Fried Chicken and made assistant manager at what, 16, 17? And when our kids were in elementary school, Doug sponsored sports teams, coached, refereed, helped with fundraisers, and so I could be involved in the community as well. He helped out around the house a lot, and still does. I think this comes in part of by being raised in the 50s and 60s in a family of 4 boys, where they had no choice but to do chores that were stereotypically girls' chores. He is admittedly a lot neater than I am. He makes sure that the couch pillows are in their place and the newspaper and papers are all tidy before we leave the house. Doug does laundry. I don't think he's shrunk anything of mine in I don't know how many years. He does grocery shopping. He does dishes, and from time to time he sings while doing dishes. A few of the favorite dishwashing songs that I remember are Jimmy Crack Corn, and When the Red, Red Robin Goes Bob, Bob, Bob. Not sure where they came from because, as Ed alluded to, we know him as a real classic rock kind of guy, but you know, we always got a chuckle out of him singing those songs. So while it took a while to convince Doug that Red Hook was a perfect place that it has proved to be, it took a couple of years for Doug to you know, get his business established here. For the first 2 years that we moved here, he actually was commuting back and forth between Red Hook and Texas. He had a very successful business there. His family was there. And you know, it got to the point where he was while he was there, he had to tend to the needs of his mother and 2 brothers who sadly fell ill after we moved here and have since passed away. You should all know that Doug sacrificed a lot to move here, and that he has said he has no regrets. We are ever grateful for that, Doug. There was actually a time when we thought we were going to be moving back to Texas, but Doug saw how much I and the kids really benefited from being here.
especially with the school district. So we bought the house in 1998. I know Susan said she thought we were here in 1986, but not for lack of trying, but it wasn't until 1996. And, you know, it didn't take long for Doug to jump into this community, and both as a businessman and volunteer. In both of these roles, Doug has an uncanny way of getting others to work as hard as he does, not through coercion, but by leading by example. He does not expect anyone to work harder than he does, and this practice has proven to be quite successful for us, not only as a family, who he has provided for so wonderfully, but for us as a community. Our community's benefited from his sponsorship of youth sports, working alongside and supporting me at PTSA events, contributing to nonprofits such as the Red Hook Library, Historic Elmendorf, and as you have heard, he's been on the Recreation Committee, Greenway and Trails, St. Margaret's Committee, Historic Red Hook, Hardscrabble Day Committee, the School Safety Committee. You could also find Doug planting trees with the Tree Commission in Red Hook, and setting up and participating in our annual cleanup days. And even though he's not a registered Democrat, Doug can always be counted on to help us in many ways with our committee events. I have to admit that when the Rotary was asking for nominations, I actually put somebody else's name on the nomination. Not because Doug isn't deserving, but because Doug is so humble about what he does, and I know it was hard for him to accept this great honor. In his bio, he said he was inspired by my work, and I appreciate that sentiment. But I think, like most of us here who have children, we're inspired by our children. And we're so lucky to have them here with us tonight, and Andrew with his fiancée. So Doug, we, your family, we're so proud of you and all that you have done and sacrificed and given to us in this community that we joyfully call home. Our respect for you is only outmatched by our love for you.
This time, Doug's son Andrew is going to make a presentation.
Am I good without the mic? Can everybody? They're loud enough? Yeah, good? No? Good. I'm in the thing. Okay. So, yeah, we're here to talk about Doug Strawinski. Obviously, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored to share in this distinction of my dad, who absolutely has earned this. I promise I will not nearly as long-winded as my mom, so fairly brief. I know we have things that we need to do. So we're going to go ahead and move on. I was actually there when my dad got the call and said that he has in fact received this distinction, and in true Doug fashion, he kind of like shrugged his shoulders very nonchalantly and was like, why me? And I thought that, yeah, of course you. It makes perfect sense. That's a great thing for the Rotary Club to, in fact, do. I went back one. I thought it was a great idea. And that was cool, but that kind of nonchalant manner that my dad has is exactly the type of man that he is. He does this stuff not for accolades or a pile of proclamations and citations. He does this because it's the right thing to do. He's not looking for praise at all. So anyway, just moving on, I do kind of want to stand here and talk a little bit about the type of man that my dad, Doug Strawinski, actually is. And talking about that, I want to do that because I've learned a lot from my dad. I've learned a lot about what it actually means to be, a man at this point. And maybe if we talk a little bit, we may be able to learn just a little bit about Doug that some of you folks may not know. So that's great. So anyway, as you guys have heard, my dad is obviously very handy, and he's been handy ever since he received his very first hammer as a birthday present. So he's been able to kind of parlay this handiness into a really very, very successful contracting business. And that has a good deal of success. And he's done that because he's committed, he's hardworking, and he's found ways to navigate the business side of this. He's a fairly savvy businessman, finds ways to successfully run a business. But I'm moving on here. His success and his commitment and his hard work and the quality of his work are not why we're honoring him today. We're honoring him because he's a fantastic citizen of this great town of Red Hook. And my fiance and I, we moved back from Utah because this is where we want to be. It's a great town. It has culture. It has community. It has these great citizens, be they of the year or otherwise. And it makes it just such a fantastic place. And my dad, he's such a great citizen because he will do whatever he needs to. As many of you folks have alluded to tonight, that he'll do any of these kind of projects and things. He'll take on these large projects, or he'll do something as simple as cleaning up, which I've known him to do really, really frequently. But he's worked on a number of different committees and areas within this town. As I mentioned, he's been on the School Safety Commission, which he's very adamant about making sure our students are safe from anything that could befall them when they're there at school. And he's done a lot of those things. And obviously, he's had some tireless work with the Hardscrabble Day. And I really have to say that it's just progressively gotten better and better and better. And I mean, this year with Greg Raleigh, but at any rate, it was awesome. And so we're kind of curious as to what the Hardscrabble Committee is going to come up with next. But one of the things that I've known my father to do is to make sure that he is maintaining the integrity and moral fiber of this town, which I'm sure he's going to do with all of his future projects. But in all reality, I'm exceptionally proud of my dad. I've looked up to him my entire life. I continue to do so to this day. And Dad, I mean, if I could accomplish half of what you have, I'm going to count that as a win. I'm really proud of you. I don't know how other ways to say it, but you earned this night. And let's give it up for him.
And now, we'll hear a few words from his daughter, Jackie.
Much long-winded, and how do
birthday, so congratulations. And Beth took me to the side and she said, "Oh man, we should totally nominate them." And I said, "Yeah, we totally should as a couple." But you know, mainly my dad, and he's my hero. What can I say? He's been my friend's hero for so long too, and I'm so proud of you, Dad. I don't know what else to say other than I'm super proud of you. Enjoy your night, and I'm just so happy to pack this house full of people who care about you and who have been touched in your life just like all of us.
Okay. Doug, you want to come up? On behalf of the Red Hook Rotary Foundation and the Rotary Club, Doug, I'd like to present you with this plaque as Citizen of the Year. And you are also, we've been trying for a long, long, long time to get Doug to be a member of our Rotary Club. And he's been invited by quite a few members, probably almost everybody who's a member of the club. But we're finally getting you in, and you didn't even know it. We would like to make you an honorary member of the Red Hook Rotary Club, and Christine has a pin for you.
I do. I'm going to pin you. This is your honorary, I can get it off the thing. This is your honorary Rotarian for a year. And you can see how much fun it is to wear that. Another pin that you can also wear, which is to light up Rotary. This is our annual pin for the year. And you can certainly light up Red Hook just like you light up Rotary. Thank you.
He's got a few words to say here.
Good evening. Carl's taking a little bit of my thunder. I did put a few words together. Where's the teleprompter? Anyway, thank you very much. I'm just overwhelmed with all the fineness of this group. What I'm going to do is, I did write something down, so I'm going to put my glasses on and read it first, because it's a couple things I really want to say, and so let me do that first. I know the Red Hook Rotary tried to recruit me as a member for a few years, but now this is pulling out all the stops. All kidding aside, I would like to thank the Red Hook Rotary for the award I have tried to stay under the radar for, and have been caught doing things I really enjoy doing. Once again, thanks. I do want you to know that my inspiration for volunteering has always been my wife, Mickey. Her volunteering career goes back 30 years to Texas, where we met. She started volunteering at the schools and on social issues that she believed in, which got me interested in coaching intramural sports. From there, we moved to this beautiful community called Red Hook. Once again, she started volunteering at the schools and on social issues she believed in. And I got involved in the Recreation Commission and met a wonderful friend, Bob Bowman, and I think you all know him. He got me involved in the Rec Commission about 14 years ago, and Bob was always a wonderful friend to me, and I certainly do miss him. Anyway, from there things got just blossomed. Mickey got more involved in politics, and I continued to find projects to get involved in. I have to tell you this community has a lot of citizens of the year who volunteer time and time, not for the recognition, but just because they enjoy doing it. I've been fortunate to work with many of you, some who are in this room today. I want to thank you for your work and for the many projects we have completed together. For those I don't know who continue to volunteer, I know there's many of you that do it as well, under the so-called radar, beware, people do notice. Before I finish, I do want to make a pitch for new volunteers. There are many organizations in this community, including Red Hook Rotary, who are looking for new energy members. It's fun, and you are making a difference. Before I end, I want to thank my family and all my friends for sharing this evening with me. Let's all continue making this community a great place to live. But I'm not done. I'm done with this. First of all, Andrew, you know I have feelings. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. That's about all I can say. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's just great that you're all here. And for the Rotary, certainly first and foremost, and I think secondly for me. And I really and truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Before we conclude, we have to announce the silent auction winners. But before we do that, I would personally like to thank the Interact Club for helping out with the serving tonight.